What's up guys, Gadget Friendly here. In today's video, we have a new ultra affordable Android media player. This thing is so cheap, it's actually scary. Like, I'm honestly not sure if it's going to be the best deal of 2016 for these types of boxes or if it's just going to not live up to the hype. But this thing is the MXQ 4K Android media player. Its full retail price is only $29.99, which means these things are dirt cheap. With that in mind, who knows how it's going to perform, but I'm quite interested in seeing personally. So let's unbox it. Let's go over all of the hardware, accessories, and all the usual stuff, and then let's plug it in and put it to the test. Okay, so let's just quickly go over the unboxing. The hardware itself I didn't really touch on, but to give you guys an overview of it, this TV box is using a Rockchip RK3299 CPU. It's a new entry-level CPU by Rockchip for 2016, and it's supposed to offer hardware decoding of 4K video files. So if you don't need gaming and all the bells and whistles and stuff like that, then you should be able to get some really decent video performance from this box. It also has 1 GB of RAM, 8 gigs of internal storage, and it's limited in its Wi-Fi to 2.4 GHz networks. So this is, again, an entry-level media player, but it should offer good video playback at its core level. So let me get out of the plastic, give you guys a better look at it, and then we'll go over the rest of the details. So here's a better look at the front of the MXQ 4K. You can see the glossy logo right in the center. The top has a matte black finish to it, but it's kind of sparkly. It's almost like grip tape also, if you can kind of see that there. Looking at it from the front, it's blank, but there is an IR sensor behind that plastic so that the remote can communicate with it. The right features a full-sized SD card slot and 3 USB 2.0 ports for connecting accessories. On the back, we have a 4th USB port. There's 2 audio-related ports. We have an optical and a 3.5mm audio-video. There's a HDMI port, 10x100 fast Ethernet, and to round it off, we have the 5-volt power in. It's blank on the left-hand side. On the bottom, we have a grill to let in cool air. There's also 4 rubberized feet to help with stability and elevating it. And that's pretty much it for the physical overview on this box. We're going to look at this in a little more detail later in the video. Moving along from the TV box itself, we're going to look more at that in a second. Next, we have the remote. This is your standard Android TV remote. It's really just the basics. I would say if you want to get the most of this thing, pick up a Logitech K400. I'll put a link down in the description for it. It'll give you a much better experience, but let's take a closer look at this remote also. Going over the buttons on it, we have a power button. You can teach it to control your receiver or your TV also, so you can control the power of that device and the volume of that as well. There's a setup button, volume buttons. We have a directional pad in the middle for navigation. There's also Android keys for home, back, and menu or recents. And then this is the cursor key here. If you press this, it's going to activate a cursor on the screen so you can use the directional pad to navigate it using arrows. Otherwise, you're going to be clicking app to app. It's going to have little squares around the apps, and it will just take you from app to app using the directional pad. There's also a numpad down here at the bottom. The remote itself is battery powered. It takes 2 AAA batteries, and they don't include any, so you will have to supply your own. The last thing that we have is the IR sensor on the top. Again, this is how the remote actually talks to the TV box, and that's really it for the remote. So again, pretty straight to the point. Make sure to check out the description if you want something a little more robust, because I'll link to the Logitech K400 there. And then the last few accessories that we have can be found underneath this little lid here. First, we have our power adapter. It looks like this is a US plug, so if you're located somewhere else in the world, be sure to select something for your region or request it. Other than that, it has a power rating of 5 volt 2000 milliamps. They've also included a HDMI cable for connecting to your projector, monitor, TV, whatever you're going to be using as your display. And then last, we have the user manual. The user manual looks like it is also in English, so this should be a really good starting point for those of you who are not familiar with these devices or with this device in particular. Just read up on this and check out all of the details before you get to using it. So that's it for the unboxing, guys. Moving forward, let's look at it now plugged in and see how it performs. Alright, so we are now at the main launcher screen for the MXQ 4K. This is a generic launcher. I'm not really a fan of this user interface, so with that being said, if you aren't either, you're more than welcome to install other third-party launchers like Nova Launcher that are going to give you a much more traditional user interface. But let's go over this one real quick. This is a big screen friendly user interface. These icons here are easy to see at a distance, and what they really are folders. For example, if you click video, you can add applications to be part of the video folder. This just allows you to bundle applications together so you can organize them in a structure that makes sense for you or for those who are going to be using the box. Settings area here, this is the standard Android settings, just like you've seen on your phone or tablet in the past. This particular version of Android is Android 4.4 KitKat, so it is quite dated. If you are familiar with this version of Android, it's about 2 or 3 generations behind, and I'm not sure why they chose to go with this, maybe due to the fact that it's such a low-powered processor and it needs something a little more dated, but that's what they put on this TV box, just to give you guys the heads up. The My Apps area here is the app drawer. This app drawer is kind of weird. It doesn't let you scroll using your mouse, so you can use the arrow keys to go up or down, and there's different pages for it. The same logic applies if you go left or right. There's the recommended area, video, local, music. These are the equivalent of those folders that we just saw from the main screen a moment ago. We're going to come back in here later and look at some of these apps, but that's it for now. Music is a folder as well. Local, looks like it's a folder too. Down here at the bottom, these are user configured shortcuts. These here are actually defaults, but you have the ability to tweak these or configure these. If you hit the little plus symbol, you're presented with the menu where you can hide icons from showing or check them if you want to add them to be part of the list. And there you go. It just adds them there so you can quickly access them without having to go into your apps drawer. The bottom here is our navigation menu. Like your phone or tablet, you can adjust the volume, you can hide the status bar, or you can go back, home, or open your recents menu. So that's it for a quick walkthrough on the launcher. Moving along, let's actually put the box to the test now. What I wanted to go over first with you guys was some benchmarks. We're going to be looking at Antutu, 3D Mark, and then we're going to dive in deep with the hardware details by using CPU-Z to get a breakdown of all the different components that are used within the TV box. And then the last portion of this review is going to be a quick overview on some video. We have 4K videos that we're going to be looking at and some 1080p samples. And then also just lightly going to touch on some gaming. There's no Bluetooth with this, so we are limited to a keyboard, but we can do some light gaming, and we're going to see how the RK3299 hangs in there with some Jetpack Joyride. So let's get started with the rest of the review. So in the latest version of Antutu Benchmark version 6.1.2, the MXQ4K scored an overall score of 21,170. That's pretty low, or at least in terms of raw power. When I ran the benchmark, this exact same version on the Z2X5 in my last review, it got about a 35,000, so this is about 40% slower than the Amlogic S905 processor when everything is kind of totaled together. But let's look at the detailed score and we'll see what it stacks up to in terms of its comparison. Overall, it got a 3D score of 1348, UX of 6136, CPU of 9208, and RAM of 4478. And then if we rank it to other devices, it crashed the Antutu app. Let's try that one more time. Alright, so no ranking, but the overall score was approximately 21,000. Next up, let's look at 3D Mark. So 3D Mark was tested also, and this is a gaming benchmark, so it's testing the GPU. I'm not even really sure what the name is of the GPU that's used in this TV box. I haven't seen that detail listed anywhere yet, but overall it was able to achieve a result of 2182. The Amlogic S905 scored about 4600, so that GPU, even in that TV box, is kind of underpowered in my opinion. It uses the Mali 450, and it's actually a pentacore version of it. It has multiple cores, and this one scores about 50% lower than that. So you could assume that it's about the equivalent of one of the original Mali 450s, like the quad-core ones that were used back in the day, the MP4. So it didn't do real good. It got a 2182. Definitely don't think you're going to be able to do much gaming with this. At least it's not going to be a quality gaming experience. But here's a look at the detailed score breakdown. And I encourage you to pause it here because I'm just going to leave this up for a second. But that's the details on it. And then moving along from 3D Mark, next up let's look at CPU-Z. CPU-Z isn't really a benchmark, but it gives us a good look at the hardware and how this software detects it. You can see that it thinks it's an old school Rockchip 3066 CPU, but it's the 3299, and it's utilizing a quad-core Cortex A7 at 1.4 gigahertz. It has the 40 nanometer process, which is pretty outdated at this point. I think they're even down to 16 or 24, but that's what it is. And the clock speed on average is about 1 gigahertz. Looks like it's using that Mali 400 MP GPU, so definitely dated in terms of the video GPU or the VPU that it's using. Under device, it's made by Rockchip, or the board is made by Rockchip, the processor is made by Rockchip. The resolution is only 720, which is interesting because I have it set in the settings to 1080. It has a 160 screen density. Total RAM is only 1 GB. And this is really interesting here. I'm kind of concerned about this because I didn't think that the storage was that limited, but it shows that there's only 1 GB of internal storage. So with that in mind, if that is true, you're really going to need to use a SD card or a external hard drive to take advantage of this device to its full capacity. Under system, you can see it's Android 4.4.4, so that is KitKat. It's pre-rooted, so you don't have to worry about rooting it, because who knows how that would work anyways. And then the rest of this stuff doesn't really pertain to Android TV boxes. So that's it for our final look at the hardware used in this TV box. Next up, let's look at video. I wanted to go forward with some 4K testing in Kodi, and then we'll wrap it up by comparing those same video samples in the stock video app. Alright, so now we're looking at video in Kodi. I have some 10-bit 4K videos that we're going to look at, some standard 4K videos, and then we have some 1080p HEVC files. So we're just going to look at those three samples and see how they perform within Kodi. Then we'll go to the stock video app and compare them and see how they perform there.
LD, verify, go for launch.
SpaceX Falcon 9 Orbcom, go for launch.
2, 1.
So that was it for a quick demo of video in Kodi, and to be honest, that was absolutely horrible. It did poorly with the 4K content, it did poorly with the 1080p content. I think that there has to be some sort of optimization that's needed to the software to play nicely with the hardware, because that was just unbelievably bad. So let's see if this is really a limitation of the hardware itself by testing the same sample clips in the native video playing application. Alright guys, now we are in the video playing app. We're going to test those same three files but within this app and see how they perform. So sit tight.
LD, verify, go for launch.
SpaceX Falcon 9 Orbcom, go for launch.
3, 2, 1.
That is going to conclude our quick look at video performance on the MX-Q4K. As you guys saw, the video performance did much better within the stock video playing app, which kind of confirms that the issues with performance in Kodi are limited to that software. They're not taking control of the hardware decoding properly, and it's not able to result in smooth video playback. So if you need smooth video playback with this device, do keep in mind that you are limited to the video playing application for now. Hopefully something will work out in the future with Kodi, but for now, it's solid in here and it will give you the performance you expect. But moving along from video, now let's finish the review off by taking a quick look at some gaming, and then I'll wrap it up and give you guys my final thoughts. All right, so here we are at the end of the review now. So to give you my final thoughts on how I feel about the all-new $29.99 MX-Q4K, I would say that this device has a lot of compromises. It does offer great video playback, but only within the native video playing application. With that being said, it's quite limited to use that app, especially if you have a huge library of movies. You don't get any nice metadata. There's no structure to the files. It just placed them all in one big list, and I wouldn't purchase this box to use in that way. I would want to use it with Kodi. So I would say that video performance does live up to the hype, but only within the native video playing application. In regards to other features of the TV box, I think that at the OS level, Android 4.4 KitKat, it's really dated also. I would have really liked to see them use a newer operating system than that. I'm not sure why that was the only choice, but that's something worth noting as well. Other features of the TV box, it has 1 gigabyte of available storage. That is really worrisome. I don't know what they were thinking with a limited amount of storage capacity like that. I couldn't even install more than like 5 or 6 apps at one time without it using up that full storage space. So really limited in that regard. Other things, gaming on it was decent, surprisingly. I know it was Jetpack Joyride, which is like an 8-bit video game, but it does have, a nice little side-scrolling, action-packed pace going to it. And it didn't have any hiccups there. There was no jitter or delay or anything like that. The raw power of this thing, it's very underpowered. It's probably about on level with the MK808B, if you remember one of those devices. So it's really, really an entry-level device. So that's what I wanted to point out in this review, and I hope I did so adequately. So that's it. That's all I have to say about this TV box, guys. Thank you for hanging in there. If you found that this video was useful, even if you don't like the product, please hit the like button. It really helps me out. And if you do want to get more details on this TV box, there is a link in the description to the manufacturer's website and also a link to the Logitech K400, which I still suggest you guys pick up when using these types of devices. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video and have a good weekend.